Welcome to this webinar series, which is a part of the Investor Education and Awareness Initiative of Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund in association with Outlook Money. New Year is the time to make resolutions for the rest of the year. As we are about to cross the month of January, we thought a discussion on smart financial resolutions for 2025 would be something that will interest our audience. We have a panel of three experts who will share their own resolutions with you and guide you on the way forward to make the exercise of making financial resolutions more effective. First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. K.S. Rao, who's the head of Investor Education and Distribution Development at, at, at First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. K.S. Rao, who's the head of Investor Education and Distribution Development at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. Mr. Rao has been striving to take financial literacy and investor education to various demographic segments across geographies for over 30 years. His association with Outlook Money is also really valued by us. मैं ये फिर से कर रही हूँ, sorry. Mr. Rao का. First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. K.S. Rao, who's the head of Investor Education and Distribution Development at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. Mr. Rao has been striving to take financial literacy and investor education to various demographic segments across geographies for over 30 years. In fact, his long association with Outlook Money in terms of financial awareness and investor education is also greatly valued. We also have with us Mr. Amit Trivedi, who's an author, speaker, and trainer. He is also an adjunct faculty at NISM and visiting faculty at IIM Jammu. Our third panelist is Kiran Telang, who's a certified financial planner, a SEBI registered investment advisor, and author. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. My first question is to you, Mr. Rao. What is the significance of making financial resolutions?
Yeah, thanks, Nidhi. Thanks to having us and wishing, of course, the new year has just started. A month almost we are ending to the coming to the closer of the month, but
Yeah.
still nothing wrong in looking at the resolutions. And glad to be starting this with the resolutions and glad to be part of the webinar. Probably this could be, the bit of this webinar is little more emotional to me too. And as like, this could be my last webinar in the series in my official capacity and it's a glad association with Outlook. I'm grateful to Outlook. I mean, it's a little over few hundreds, I think. It's the webinars over a period of time, and it's glad. And thanks, Amit, Kiran, for all the support to all of us. And coming back on the resolutions, I mean, every year we look at on the moment calendar comes in. I mean, new change, new year changes. It's become some kind of a hobby or some kind of aim to do something very differently because which we have not accomplished the first part of it, and we have multiple goals and sometimes goals will go here and there, and resolutions will help us to come back where we are and where we are missing. This is what I aim at, this is what I could not make it, this is what I can look at. It could be 3 4 areas where people normally looks at, and I've seen new year resolutions predominantly look at on the physical, on the health related resolutions are always high, and that's the reason the gyms will make new year offer so attractive. People will go for 10 days to the gym and pay for 365 days of fees for it, and that's a common thing. But when it comes to the financial resolutions, why it makes a lot of sense to have those resolutions is, I mean, we have a best of the financial planners, we work with the financial planners. For example, if I'm a client for the Kiran and she would have given the best of the goals, but still I may be in track in one part, I may not be on track another part. Second is things would have changed in the economy, markets, and how it has behaved. Nothing will change on my goals, but it has to change the way I work. For example, from next month I may not have my salary check. I need to have a resolution which is very differently, which we can talk little later. And each of us will have that resolutions will help us to get focused on where you need to go, focused on how that track you need to get there, what track you laid down, and it helps us to get into those goals either in an accelerated way, or if it is delayed, how I can get back on the track. Right? It is like a GPS, it reroutes to you to get back to the goal. Resolutions will help us to reflect, resolutions will help us to renew, resolutions will help us to recalibrate.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rao. Outlook is also very grateful, and it was a pleasure to associate with you for so long. but very succinctly put on why financial resolutions are important. And in fact, Mr. Rao was saying that how these, some of the financial needs keep changing also. So my next question is to all three of you. What is your financial resolution for 2025 and why? So, Mr. Amit, we can start with you.
First of all, good morning and a very, very happy 2025 to everybody. Uh, my basic resolution is on the lines of what Rao sir was mentioning about the gyms being busy in the first week of January. Uh, a lot of times, and it's happened with me also, so I'm not saying that it happens with others only. A lot of times we set a resolution, and in the early days, there is a high energy, high enthusiasm, and we start. And then over a few days, suddenly the energy and enthusiasm go away. You get back to routine, and again you start putting on weight. You start binging on Netflix or the sweets that you like, and the resolution gets forgotten. So my resolution this year is to go back to last 5 years and see what resolutions I had set and take an audit of what did I do with those, and then accordingly set my resolutions. So one resolution that I have this year is to get back to reading books. There was a gap in between, and I've completely stopped. Now, somebody may wonder what is reading books got to do with money management or personal finance. Actually, there's a lot. Uh, Books teach you so much about not just money, but your own behavior. And when you start looking at your own behavior, you start looking at what mistakes that you make. And when you know that, it's easier to take a corrective action. So this year, my resolution is to, read 30 books in the year. I mean, at the highest point, I'd clocked 50, but then there was a gap. So I'm starting with 30. So that's my resolution number one. Resolution
Wow.
number two is to
Hmm.
look at my, re-evaluate my personal finance situation. Because like Rao sir was mentioning about his transition, a lot of us keep getting into various situations where the life in 2024 would have been very different from life in 2025. So when life changes, a lot changes. And that lot could be either financial goals or your income and expense pattern or both. So my second resolution is to take a uh, review of my finances again and do a new stuff, make a new fresh start.
All right. That 30 books is a, big goal, Amit, and I'm really inspired by that. In fact, my resolution was also to start reading again because there has been a gap because of so much other work. But 30 is something steep. I would only stick to, start reading again. So coming to
So I've
Kiran.
done four already.
Oh,
I've
wow.
already January I've done four. So yeah, I'm on track.
So by that logic, you will be at 48 by the end of year if we keep four
Uh,
books per month.
yeah, but I'm a mutual fund guy, so I'll remember that past performance may or may not be, continued in future.
Absolutely, absolutely. So coming to you, Kiran, what is your financial resolution for 2025?
Well, obviously, like Rao sir and Amit said, evaluate where you have come so far and recalibrate as per the changes that have happened. So there are changes which have happened both on the business front in terms of regulation changes. So we have to reevaluate where we are going from here. On a very personal front, I'm already studying further in the area of behavioral finance, and I would like to continue that journey and take up some additional courses because that will not only help refine my own thinking in terms of how people behave and how it is related to their money habits, but it can also, help my clients and help me guide them in a better manner. So learning, I think, is a lifelong thing. You always there is so much more that you don't know than what you've
True.
learned so far, and also refreshing what you've learned, reevaluating what you've learned, unlearning some things and relearning new things because the world is also changing, right? So it's not going to stay the same. There are so many new things which are coming. The AI is coming in, how it is going to impact people, and how it's going to change their money behavior. So there is a lot more interesting things happening, and I hope to learn a little better, reevaluate my thinking, and probably create some more frameworks in my mind for dealing with various situations, and sharing the same with my clients. So these are some of the resolutions for this year for me.
That's lovely. Great. And Mr. Rao, I would ask you as well, what is your financial resolution for 2025?
Mhm. Thanks, Nidhi, and congrats, Amit, of being on the track for your book reading, and all the best, Kiran, for your behavioral finance to replanning. And I put it for me, my goals this year need to be very, very different, and I want to take a conscious call. Then I put it in a, I put too many, goals in the space, but as a coach, we have got the art of how you can refine those goals. And when I was refining, I put it on a three buckets. And this year, I have enrolled myself for Harvard Business School. I just started, just completed the first module, which is, this is a program on senior executive leadership program. And I thought while I was refining, I will put this under category of HBR. It is not a Harvard Business Review, but my goals for my resolutions. And the goals are, the first one, H, is to focus on a health, constantly working on it, and that's the first goal on my health. And of course, multiple things. I will not take their time. Let's Today we are talking about the financial resolutions. Second one is books, as Amit said, reading. But I have this hobby of reading a lot. Now I thought, why should not I write the books? And Amit is helping me to author my books, and I am grateful to Amit for it. Probably, I hope at least. I am hoping for three books to complete in this year to come publish. If not three, I will end up at the two. That's my ballpark and benchmark number. And third one comes is the R part, which is reviewing the finances, because that's the most critical. When you are in work, you tend to neglect because your work takes the precedence and rest of the things will go back. And I'm glad, the way you do at 40 after 40, which is again going to happen in February in Bombay. It gives you an idea where you need to look at. I was just looking at, I need to review my entire finances, where I am standing and how I am looking at. I've been working with the financial planners on that. First thing I need to check, whether I am on track for my review my retirement planning process. Then second one, bit on the debt management, how we need to look at, and what kind of insurances I need to look at, my insurance needs, how it can change for me. And the last but not the least, I need to put under holistic approach how my finances will help me, and and if I can share my plan that can help for somebody for their retirement plan, can I create a template, at least another 10 guys can utilize it. That's what my resolution.
Okay, great. So, for the audience, it's been great that three educators, coaches, planners have shared their goals, and all of them are to better themselves and, go ahead in life, not stop. So, talking of age cohorts, like Mr. Rao was talking about the retirement phase, Kiran, I would ask you, when it comes to the middle-aged or the sandwich generation who have so many responsibilities, so many things to kind of manage, even money-wise, is there a financial resolution that can help them?
Well, that's a very interesting question. When you talk about sandwich generation, I think first of all, I will say that we have to be grateful that you have, bread on both sides in your sandwich. So you have your parents and you have your kids. So that itself is a big thing to be grateful for.
Hmm.
As far as financial resolutions go, I think this is a very critical time in any person's life, because you might most likely be in a very senior position in your career, but the demands on your money will be very high because your parents probably are getting older, your kids would be getting closer to higher education. So the demands on the income and the wealth will be much higher. So I think the financial resolution should be to take a pause at this time and evaluate how far you have come, and revise and review your goals. Because unless you know how far you have come, you will be afraid to take the next steps. And unless you know what your goals are, it will be difficult for you to keep on track. So both ways, review and reevaluate your goals. And if there are any gaps that you find, try and find the best solutions that will work in your current situation to fill those gaps. See, what happens is people end up not implementing a lot of the plans that are created for their finances because they feel that they're too huge. So one step at a time can help, so whatever best can be done at this position, even if there is a stretch and a pull on all the resources that you have, take one step at a time, and it will definitely lead to you to help towards your goal. If you never start, you're never going to reach it, so it's, I think, a time to evaluate and rework on the gaps that are there in the current position.
Right. Like Kiran said, this is the most enjoyable phase because you have both the breadths on both the sides. But it could also be tough money-wise. But, of course, review and looking at goals can really help. So coming to the younger cohort, and Amit, I'll ask you that, what would be a smart financial resolution for them?
So this sandwich analogy is beautiful. So I'll pick up from there. And it's important for the filling to understand that there are breads on both the sides, and for the bread to understand there is something inside. And that mutual respect is very important, because a lot of times what happens is the so-called sandwich generation feels that we have too many responsibilities, and they are not able to spend time for their own self, or money for their own self. And sometimes when the resources are scarce, they feel guilty spending money on their own requirements, even sometimes basic requirements also. On the other end, the younger generation, when they are dependent on the parents, at that point in time, sometimes they tend to feel privileged that my parents are my ATM, and ATM without a pin. So, anytime I can go and ask for money. Well, the parents and children relationship may be that strong, but still for the children, I would say, think about what you are doing and act responsibly, because somebody may be sacrificing one's own basic requirements for your luxuries. That's number one. And when the when the children finish their college education and when they start working, the initial paychecks are when they start realizing that the expenses far exceed their income, or actually, as somebody says that there is too much of a month left after the at the end of my salary. So they get into that situation, and that's when they start realizing the importance of what their parents did. Now, having said that, that also doesn't mean that you start cutting down on your life. Cut down on expenses, don't stop living life. And that's possible when you start with a budgeting exercise. And budgeting, as our friend Gaurav Mashwala says, is like going to a restaurant where you've got a menu card in front of you. You choose what you want to do and then add up the expenses. So in life, a lot of times what happens is people think that budgeting means किसी को हिसाब देना है, whatever money I have spent, I have to tell somebody. No, that's not the case. Budgeting means, and 2 days later, when the finance minister also presents budget for the country in the parliament, she's going to say this is where we are going to spend money. So it's choosing where to spend money, choosing where the money goes. And when you do it that way, at a younger age, you get into that discipline where unnecessary, unwarranted expenses are automatically controlled. At that age, controlling expense far exceeds which is the best stock or best mutual fund, or which is the best health insurance or the cheapest term insurance policy. So start looking at your budget first. That's the resolution that I would request the youngsters to consider.
Right. Looking at the budget will solve a lot of problems, like Mr. Trivedi said. And, a lot of times we hear younger people complain that, this is the age to do this, travel, wear something fancy and all of that. But of course, balancing it will take you a long way, and your financial resolution can be around choosing what you want to spend on, like Mr. Trivedi said. So coming to you, Mr. Rao. You did mention your resolution in terms of the retirement phase and all of that, which is actually not a retirement phase because you are on your way to write books and pursue a course, all of that. So, but what is your view on seniors or the retired? Should they also make financial resolutions, and what should be their topic?
Thanks, Nidhi. Again, I'll go back to Kiran for the sandwich part of it. That's the best way to look at. I mean, whichever the age group, if you are putting this whole thing, you put under sandwich. Now that she said, which side of the loaf, you are on the back side or the bottom side, and then how you need to look at. I mean, every age. I don't think there is a no age we should not have a resolutions. Resolutions are most important, and for the elderly people, it's much more important because that is a period of time you look for a financial security for the larger number of masses. For some would have got accomplished, and some would have got into the difficulties. And mostly the during your retirement, if somebody's retirement period, probably the income streams are fixed. Then, but expenditure streams are always continuing. And like earlier, as Amit was telling, how you can look at control of the spending, how you can look at here the your outflow is going in, how you and you are going to live much longer. The biggest financial resolution is how you can have multiple financial resolutions. Ensure that phase of retirement will not make you to struggle, and that can help you to enjoy your retirement while you can making the care of your finances. And once you have a financial planner under with you, probably life is little more easier. But certain cases where I have seen personally, not everything they can share at the stage of retirement. They don't share with the financial planner also the broader things which are happening otherwise during the income plan, because even financial planner also will have a little lesser time for them, because there is only everything is done and it is set for the younger generations. You have either income flow changes, or you change the job, or you got one time money. Here what is the resolutions one they can look at is fun is review your plan and where you are there, and budget accordingly. Second, it's like I use this term most of the times. They go for their When you go to the doctor nowadays, it is common, it has become, if there is a headache, then I've seen an elderly friend who is in my own complex. I mean, nothing doing is a simple headache. He has asked to go for MRI, and then he has to struggle later. Nothing has happened, and you need to spend. Then I was telling him, for you, the best MRI resolution for every year is you can look at how you can maximize your retirement income. You start focusing on it, and keep working on it. And third one is the health costs are taking a huge chunk of money. How you can look at your healthcare costs, and one is taking care of health is one resolution. Looking at minimizing the healthcare cost, how you can get that right. And the fourth one is estate planning could be one more area where they need to review continuously. Things are changing dramatically, and where you need to review. I mean, at least I mean, your nominations are in place, and that is the first part. But your will can be updated wherever it is required. And the last but not the least is planning for the long term care. And as you like how you can plan for long term care while simplifying your finances. I mean, elderly need to take utmost care of the finances, because it is a very fragile, and you need to handle it with care, and also ensure to maximize, and that helps you to keep much more active in life too.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was also very, very useful for the three age cohorts. The experts have given their verdicts in a way. So, Kiran, I have another question for you. So, is there, a need to think beyond financial resolutions? Because that is something that we make and, a lot of times don't keep. Is there a need to go beyond financial resolutions and create your own path?
Yes, definitely, Nidhi. I would say that financial resolutions are kind of a reminder for oneself, if you have not done certain things, because life keeps on happening. You're always busy all the time. So, probably New Year or, other periods where people tend to make resolutions are a kind of a reminder that, okay, you've forgotten to do certain things. Now, take a pause and go back and do what you've missed. But
Mhm.
creating your own path beyond that is a continuous process. You keep on evaluating, make a better version of yourself all the time. I mean, not only in terms of your work, you also need to work on other aspects of yourself where maybe kindness could be one thing. I mean, we are becoming a less kind world. So can we become kinder? A kind deed every day that can make world a better place. Also, beyond that, maybe something like a spiritual growth of your own self. There are other things where, like Rauser said, that recreation takes a backseat when you are working, and we talk about, multiple work hours during the week.
Mm.
So can we bring that joy back, which recreation can bring? Whatever you've missed out can be pull out some bits of time from our busy schedule and bring back the joy of simple things. So I think these are an ongoing thing. I mean, it need not wait for a artificial, resolution creating period. You can just see and make changes in your life as you go along to actually live the life that you want.
Right. So, Mr. Trivedi, a similar question to you because you start when you were listing your own financial resolutions for the year, you started with saying, I'll take a look at the resolutions I made in the past 5 years. So, and then kind of go ahead with this year's resolution. So, what do you think should be your regular path and which is not just related to your financial resolutions?
The H in the HBR that Rao sir was mentioning, there is a saying which is health is wealth. We never say wealth is health.
Mm.
No amount of wealth can buy health, but if you are healthy, wealth creation is possible.
Yeah.
So I think uh, being healthy, and when you talk about health, it's not just physical health, it is also psychological health that one needs to keep in mind. And especially as we grow older, some of the ailments may have impact on the psychological aspects of life. Having said that, even youngsters are not immune to it these days with overload of information, overload of negativity, and too much of bombardment from, or rather too much of polarization when it comes to various views. I think that kind of cleaning up may be a good idea and filtering. Like in the case of budgeting, we decide where to spend the money. I think some amount of budgeting, mental budgeting is required where our thoughts should go and what kind of ideas we should latch on to. I don't know whether that's possible or not. I'm probably it could be a lofty resolution, but yeah, if you need help, take help from a spiritual teacher if required, and get guided properly. So that's number one. Number two, all the financial resolutions that we talk about, if we keep asking why do we need to do this, why do we need to do this, it eventually leads to a better quality of life. And if better quality of life is what we want, why not start with resolutions for life and then break them down into financial resolutions?
Hmm.
So, yes, it is important to look beyond finances. Let's understand money is a means to an end called a life. Money is not an end by itself. Because if we chase money, it may lead to a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. Uh, when we are chasing money, a little drop in the value could cause a lot of anxiety. Whereas if you are chasing life's goals, a little here and there, in terms of financial value, doesn't really matter much. The third thing that I would say, which is again borrowing from what both Kiran and Rao had mentioned, is about being grateful about where we have reached. And if we look around, there will always be somebody who's done better than us, and there will always be somebody who's behind us. Recently, I went to a school, and the principal told some beautiful thing. He says, when we measure efficiency, we look at the input and output both. But in academia, because he was talking about school system, he said in academia, we look at the output only, which is the marks, and without looking at where the child comes from. So I would say when I'm evaluating myself, there are no university or exam board criteria. I can set my own criteria. Start with my input where I am and my output where I'm reaching, or where I am versus where I was. And
Hmm.
if I do that kind of an analysis, I think there is enough to be grateful for.
That was a very, very holistic discussion on financial resolutions and looking beyond these financial resolutions. But Mr. Rao, ending this session, I would like you to, kind of tell our audience on what do you think was the biggest takeaway from this conversation?
Yeah. Thanks, Nidhi. Indeed, it's good to have a wonderful speakers around, and it's a lot of good conversations. I'm sure for everyone in the audience, it's a great listening to them and understanding, how the resolutions are important. And resolutions are important, but resolving to complete I mean, sticking to the resolution is the most important part. And you need to resolve, and taking the clue from both of them when they spoke, and when you are connecting them with so nicely with the right questions. I was just looking at a framework which we can adapt for the resolutions, could also be a 5G framework. And the first G is like, you need to have a guide, whether it is for the finance or for the health. You need to a coach, or for your career, you need to have a executive coach kind. Guide makes a lot of difference. When you want to make your resolutions to work, the first thing is to have your guide right. Then, he or she can guide you on the right path. Then post the guide. Once you have a guide, then you can set the goals right, that can help you to accomplish where you want to. Whether, we have spoke about different cohorts, whether it's the young or middle age or the seniors. Each of you got a different goals, and how you need to track your goals. Then you need to have a right goals with the right coach can get there. And third one is, throughout the year there is every possibility when goals are there. I mean, goals will be there, but action plan of yours is the most important part. If I have a goal to reduce my weight to certain level, and if I am not going to the gym, then I will never accomplish what I intend to accomplish. I mean, your continuity, your consistency, and your own discipline is the most important. I will put under third G, which is your own governance mechanism, how you can govern all these things. I mean, it's a, and the last one, the fourth G I look at is when Amit spoke about the last, have that gratitude, and don't have, like, because most of the times we get bogged up. So, like, in career, I have seen, I mean, I have not got my elevation, but my colleague got the elevation. That hurts you more. But when you got elevated, your colleague also would have felt that, which has become very little importance, and it is both. And we should have that gratitude, and then you keep working on it. I think you put it very nicely. How you can have the gratitude for what you have, how you can thank the people, how you can give back to the society, and how you can give back to someone. The fourth G, and the last G is for any resolution, have a mindset, that sankalp, to go ahead, that you accomplish what you intend to do it, provided you follow other four Gs. And that's the way I can look at.
Right. So those were interesting 5Gs as a takeaway for you, my audience. And it was a very, very informative and interesting talk on financial resolutions. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming to this session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.